Ready?
Shady's back. Wow. I'm singing Eminem.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the April 6, 2023, 9 a.m. regular planning board meeting. And seeing we have a quorum, if you would join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God,
indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Thank you. And as we start every planning board meeting with, there is a statement which I'll read, and each member of the planning board has to respond. Does any member of the planning board have a conflict of interest or the appearance of a conflict of interest with regard to any item on the agenda? And if so, please state so at this time. I do not. Ron?
No. I do not.
Okay.
Richard Dysinger?
Nobody has any conflicts. We have a draft agenda before us. Does anybody wish to amend the existing agenda?
I would like to suggest that we have a brief discussion about the conditional rezoning process. We're in the early stages of figuring out how to do this, and I think we experienced a few bumps in the road. I want to say publicly that I think we're doing the best we can. The developer's doing the best they can to handle it, but I think it showcased the necessity for requiring virtual access to any meeting so that those that either cannot attend due to distance or cannot attend due to the limitations of the current roster of available resources that limit attendance to less than 160 people present an issue in terms of satisfying, because within C-Trail, the hair is on
excuse
fire.
Excuse me, Richard, are you going to add something to the agenda?
I would like to add a discussion of that issue to the agenda.
Then there can be a
I so
discussion.
move that we add that to the agenda so that we can have that discussion.
Okay. Any additional comments?
Nope, not from me.
Ron, any comments?
Can I get a second?
Not today.
I would not say.
I have to like to keep the limit on this today.
Can I inquire as to when we would have an opportunity to have this discussion?
I'd like to have the applicant for the conditional zoning that is about to come before us, which the planning board has not yet received. I'd like to see that and then deliberate completely on that subject. I don't know what I'm looking at right yet, so.
Well, I'm suggesting that this would be a text amendment to the existing UDO.
Yeah, but we can't do it that way.
Okay, there was no second, so the agenda will stay as is unless, Ron, if you...
Well, I guess the only other suggestion is could we add it as part of the UDO review to go back and look at our CZ new text to see if we want to reconsider. I understand what he's saying, and I have some of probably the same thoughts that it's process questions. I don't think it's related to the project.
I agree.
So you'd like to add it to the agenda?
Maybe we can add it to the agenda at some point in the UDO review that I don't know how to explain it properly, take our experiences to this point and relook at our language in the new UDO to see if we want to tweak it a bit or not.
When would you want to do it? If we're going to put it on an agenda, when would you suggest?
It would have to be one of the UDO meetings.
The next meeting is April 20th.
Put it on the agenda.
Yeah, what do we have? Is it UDO?
So here's where we're at with the UDO process. On the 20th, I need to get you some submittal today before we leave. So you have Article 5 that talked about stormwater, the language ordinance for the stormwater, and flood standards. Article 6 will be wireless, and that's the handout you'll get today. And then in May, you'll get definitions.
Well, could we add it to the May meeting?
In June, you will get the whole book again.
So it's got to be before that. So maybe in the May meeting,
I would look at, as we comb back through it in your final draft, and that's when we would look at doing that.
Yeah, but I think we'd be better off, the definitions can't be that long to review. Maybe can we add an item to the definitions to have a look back at that section?
I mean, yeah, I'll talk to Wes and see.
What are you thinking then, the May 18th?
Either
meeting?
May 18th or when we get through the definitions and through the articles that we are reviewing, because we've already reviewed that.
Right.
So when it comes back to you, I think is when it will be an appropriate time to look at any changes to that process. And
I think that's a bit late because it's already been, the whole book's out there. We're going to be, to me, I think it would be better served that we just have a short look back at that section on the final meeting before the book.
Ron, how about you making a motion that we add it to the May 18th?
So
meeting?
I will say this, the articles that will,
She's going to give us some ruling here. Or some,
Need a motion on that. That's something you can just get together and decide what to put on your agenda.
okay.
You still need to do a motion to approve this agenda as presented, though,
Okay.
because that's where we are.
Well, that's,
Okay.
that's
So,
where we were with
I
that.
guess my point is, my suggestion to the board is that we add a short look back to that CZ section as soon as we finish the definition section before we move on to the total book.
all right.
Is that agreeable?
That's fine. Yeah, that'd be great.
All right, I'd like to,
Now I'm willing to put a motion in to approve the agenda as written.
can we have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Sorry for the confusion.
All right. Thank you, Kelly.
All right. The agenda is approved. Now our third item on the agenda is public comments on agenda item only. We have some folks in the audience. Does anybody wish to make a opening comment as we start the meeting on agenda items? There's also another time at the end of the meeting for public comments as well. Seeing that we have no public comments, we want to consider approval of the minutes of our March 21st, 2023 regular meeting. I had looked at them before this meeting and had a couple suggestions which Kate made the revisions to. Ron or Richard, do you have any issues with the March 21st minutes?
I had no issues.
No further issues. We
Okay.
fixed the
I'd
one.
like to have a motion that we accept the draft March 21st, 2023 minutes as is in front of us.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Approved minutes. The fifth item is old business. Seeing that we have no old business, we'll move on to item number 6, which is new business. And we have before us an application for the Villas at Seaside Final Plat Phase 2. Chad, can you give us some background on that, please?
Absolutely. The Towns at Seaside owner and applicant is requesting the final plat approval for Phase 2 of the Villas at Seaside. The final plat approval will grant permission to conduct and operate lots 69 through 108, 39 lots total for townhome use in the Villas at Seaside subdivision. The subject property is approximately 7.6 acres in size and may be further identified by Brunswick County tax parcel listed below. Based on the staff review, the proposed site plan is in accordance with the provisions of the town's UDO. All necessary information has been provided to the town as a prerequisite to the planning board, and staff's comments are attached. I will state that from the preliminary plat to this one, you'll notice a slight change. They have installed a temporary cul-de-sac down at the second entrance. The second entrance is to be done. It will be via eventually will be siren activated gate. Town and staff, along with the applicants, working on some easement information, but
You're talking about the Sunset Creek Way.
that's correct. But all that to say is that the temporary cul-de-sac is installed to meet fire code codes for being able to the 96 feet in diameter for it to be able to meet the conditions for a turnaround. So.
And I've looked at it, it seems to
Yep.
to be. Chad, I've got a question for you or for the applicant if they're here,
Yeah,
but
they are here.
who is the
Mr.
applicant?
Spencer.
Could you come to the microphone, please, sir, and introduce yourself? Hopefully that's
Morning.
on. Morning.
Bryant Spencer with Towns at Seaside LLC.
Okay. A question I have,
Sure.
sir. Initially, this area, at least in my view, was called the Towns at Seaside, and now we're calling it the Villas at Seaside. Is there a delineation?
There is not. There's originally it was going to be the Towns at Seaside. That's why the LLC actually was set up as Towns at Seaside LLC. For whatever reason, marketing and sales decided villas sounded better. That's beyond my reach.
The other units that are coming in that we're dealing with today in this phase, are they going to be generally the same as the ones?
Oh
that
yeah,
already
yeah.
started
There's
construction?
well, originally and all along there has been two different product types planned in there, both duplexes. These lots are, I think, 29-foot lots. The others are 35-foot lots.
Yeah, they look like it was a little smaller.
And they're a little bit.
Different.
It's a little bit smaller, but they're still duplex units. It was just to kind of vary the product a little bit in there.
Okay.
So two comments, Mr. Chair. One is that all the lots do meet the minimum 7,500
Yeah.
square foot requirement. And two, unless Brian is going to correct me, the covenants recorded for all of these lots are not changing. They're going to stay the same throughout, correct?
No, they're not changing. Yeah,
So,
Okay.
the covenants are the same.
just, I mean, the name and because I think ownership has changed hands a little bit.
No, the
as
ownership
well.
is still Towns at Seaside LLC.
All right.
It just, like I say, that strictly for marketing and sales purposes, they wanted to call it villas.
It looked to me, sir, that the retention pond that was shown, I guess it would be at the far west end, quite near where we're now coming on, well, where the cul-de-sac is, adjacent to Sunset Creek Way, which used to be a second access and egress
Mhm.
that's now being blocked, or it's a cul-de-sac now. It seemed like it was encroaching somewhat on the retention pond. Has there been any, or maybe it's not encroaching on it?
It's not.
It looked like it was.
I guess partly because that pond was dug before this phase was done, because it was the drainage pond for all of phase one.
Gotcha.
And in putting the right of way for the cul-de-sac in there, it doesn't encroach into the pond, I guess, is the short answer. It just looks like it, I guess, because before that was all just undisturbed area.
And you refer to the cul-de-sac as a temporary turnaround. The word temporary obviously has a definition. Will it be eliminated later on?
No.
Or it'll always stay there
Yes.
at 102 foot from curb to curb? And
Yeah, just a little bit of the backstory, I guess. Originally the plan was just as on the preliminary plat to be shown where the connection to Sunset Creek Way.
Mhm.
We had an easement, or actually the prior owner that we bought the property from had an easement from the folks that developed Sunset Commons and Sunset Creek Way. That property is not in the town, it's in the county. That easement we understood to be transferable to us, and through our process of getting approved back in, I think it was December of 19, wasn't it, Chad? I think when the planning board approved
Yes.
the owner of that property sent a letter to the town that
Withdrew
said
Okay.
that easement was not transferable to the new owners, only for utility use only, because those are public utilities and we could connect to those, not for vehicular access. So through our design process and approval, it was changed to a cul-de-sac and not having the secondary road. Now, when we came through for the phase 2 plat, we need that secondary entrance for the rest of the units and
for emergency services.
for emergency services only. And so we've spoken with the property owner over there. In fact, back then she wrote a letter to the town wanting to stop our development. And she rescinded that in an agreement that we sent to the town that we all agreed that we would not use it for vehicular access, that it would only be for utility connection. And now we need the emergency services access.
Are you going to put that Yelp gate in? I call
Yes.
it a Yelp gate because when the fire engine, you hit the Yelp.
Yeah, and the only reason that that's temporary as it's shown now is we couldn't finish the cul-de-sac without the connection to Sunset Creek Way. And we have we have an agreement with Sunset Commons to finalize the location of the gate and to connect from one to the other and put the easement on record. And actually the easement will go directly to the town, not even to us, because there will be no vehicular access for our purposes,
Only
only
for
for
town
emergency services. So
Yeah, so the town is working with Mr. Spencer on an emergency access easement for Sunset Creek Way.
Yeah.
To be able to get to this second entrance in an emergency situation.
and our attorney is drafting the language to send to the town's attorney but the reason that's why it's shown as temporary, so that we
I
have the
understand.
emergency turnaround in case we need it.
Because it is a long way for the fire engine to get in there to get this, like lot 79, 78, 80. It's, okay. I'm satisfied with your answer. Thank you.
Any other?
Any other questions from Ron, please?
I have one question, and maybe it's more of a clarification I get. On packet page 11, Chad, item 3, the pedestrian crosswalks.
Yes.
Are you there referring to the striping, actually?
Yes. So the reasons why those are not installed is because they are bonding the final inch of asphalt.
Right, but
So
you're
they-
talking about just the striping on the asphalt.
That is correct.
The walkways to it and like the ADA buttons and all that stuff.
Those are in, yes.
Those are in,
Only
yeah.
the striping is
The-
not.
So this is,
truncated-
that when that refers to is the striping on the top of the
that's
asphalt.
correct. Yeah, the truncated domes are installed, and
So there won't
stop-
be even like any temporary paint on the first
Mm-mm.
layer?
I mean, it's unless
Uh,
the applicant's willing to, I would not require it till the final inch
Yeah.
is installed. because
And
at
then,
that point,
is this
it's
the
permanent.
only two ones I see are the ones across in Net Drive we're talking, by lot 4 and 14? There's nothing at that intersection of Parkington Lane and Annette Drive? Because it seems like with all the cul-de-sacs, that T intersection there is busy.
I don't have it. Yeah, so
Can
that
I-
was actually part
So
of
are the
phase
only
one.
two crosswalks we're talking about these two? There's nothing like here and here? See what I mean? I mean, are the two crosswalks that are referred to, are these two only? There is none here, because all these vehicles are going this way, all these vehicles are going that. It seems like that's a dangerous spot there for walkers.
Are you talking about Arnett and
And Parkington?
Parkington,
Okay.
yeah.
That T intersection.
The I mean, I guess, which one,
I'd have to look at the full plan,
So-
but I believe that there are. This is just, that's the recorded plat.
So the only ones that are there that are part of this phase that will need to be will be down toward the second entrance at the south end of 70 lot 78B and 79A. There's a crosswalk with a across Arnett
Right.
about right in front of the retention pond.
And that was
Space.
shown there, I think, Mr. Spencer, is that right? Because there were to be a mailbox kiosk down in that area, which
Yes.
now I don't see it anymore with the cul-de-sac.
That's partly the mailboxes here that Postal Service likes to have them all in one location.
Okay, because there were two. There was one here and one here on the initial drawing. You're
I
gonna,
think they're all gonna be here.
okay.
well,
But the two crosswalks that you're referring to, Ron or Mr. LeBruno, are part of phase one. The applicant is looking to finalize that phase.
well, okay. So
and
I just want to clear up, the striping will be done after final asphalting, there is no temporary striping
that's correct.
unless they choose to do it.
That's correct.
But then my add-on question on crosswalks, is there at least not two crosswalks, a north-south and an east-west one, I think,
No,
at the T intersection between Parkington Lane 50-foot private right-of-way
no,
and Annette Drive 50-foot private right-of-way?
no, sir.
And it's
There-
not
there's-
required by our code.
There's only three crosswalks encompassing with phases 1 and 2. The two that's shown on your final plat is part of phase 1, and the third one down there next to the retention pond,
You know, just
almost to the cul-de-sac.
it just, I guess, I don't know that the section that governs that. Just seems there's going to be a lot of traffic at the T there,
And these
and
are
I would encourage additional safety precautions at that spot if it's not required by the UDO.
Yeah, I mean, if there's a question about the approval, I can speak to former staff to see what they were thinking at the time.
I don't know what
but-
the engine. No, you're not the engineer. You're the owner.
Ron, there is one shown on the
That-
initial plat
I
down
don't
by the cul-de-sac here. It's not shown on the documents in front of us today, but that.
Yeah, that one I couldn't see, but
Yeah, well,
I'm
it's not
still-
on the,
because this is going this
I know
way,
what you're saying. You should at least have one here
And
and
maybe-
maybe here.
something like that.
Okay.
And these are all tied to
All right,
sidewalks, correct?
can you get back to us on that?
I mean, it's part of the final preliminary plat that was already approved in 2019. So the only thing we're doing is finalizing the final plat to in accordance.
Yes,
with
but
the
we're already
final.
making a change to the preliminary plat.
You can't make a preliminary.
They are.
You can't.
The turnaround wasn't on there.
So.
So
Staff
in,
is.
in
I'll-
light
I'll-
of making that change,
I will work with the applicant to
Right.
see if he's willing to.
I don't
put
think
in
it's a
an
big
extra-
deal, but
Right.
maybe it is. I don't.
Yeah.
You know, is it a big deal?
I'll
Not
work with
really.
Okay. That's right. In light of the extra turnaround.
Well, some of the curb and gutter's already in, so they wouldn't have had the.
It's already there.
Yeah.
They
The curb and
wouldn't have
gutter is, yes,
yes.
but they can be added.
Yeah. I'll work with the applicant
you-
to see if
can you
he's
work-
willing.
Right.
the applicant and see.
We
what-
can look
So
at
I
adding.
would
It's a
some-
good point.
recommend good common sense.
Yeah, I think it's a good
Part of
point.
the reason, well, the builders put in the sidewalks on the lots as they build the houses. So since there's not one shown on the plan at that intersection, I could work with the builder on where the best place to put one would be at that intersection.
Yeah, I'm sure they could. It just
means
that's
having
fine.
to cut the
I just
curb
want
and
to
add
use
it in there.
some common sense on. You have a high traffic at some point when it's built out, high traffic
Right.
area, and people walking around.
Yeah, we
We
can
certainly want
look
to
at
enhance
those.
the safety if we can.
And Mr. Spencer,
Mm-hmm.
since one is not now needed at the temporary turnaround because the mailboxes are not going to be
Right.
placed there, that could be relocated.
Well, we would still probably put that one in because the sidewalk will go down to that cul-de-sac when it's finally built and the gate is in.
Okay.
So it would still give a way to get across the road and then back out.
Okay.
You're going to work together.
And as far as the striping, we are working to get the phase one approval to put the final lift of asphalt down because they're almost finished building all the houses in phase one. And as soon as that is in, we'll go ahead and stripe the crosswalks in that phase.
Perfect. Thank you.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
All right.
I'd like to entertain a motion for accepting the application for the Villas at Seaside Final Plat Phase 2 with the comments that we'll, with Chad having, getting with the applicant to discuss possible additional crosswalks.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you, Mr. Spencer.
Thank you, Mr.
Appreciate it.
Smithman.
The next item on our agenda is the Eastwood Bluffs Final Phase 5. Can you give us some background on that, please,
Sure.
Chad?
Yeah, Riptide Builders applicant and owners requesting the final plat approval for Phase 5 of the Eastwood Bluffs Townhomes. The final plat approval will grant permission to construct and operate buildings 4, 8, 9, and 10 of a multifamily residential unit in the Cetro community. We've approved 4 of these already. This is the 5th one. Todd, you've got how many left? 2.
Yeah, the audience won't be able to hear him
Yeah.
responding.
So I would say,
Introduce yourself, please, Todd.
Todd Rademacher, Riptide Builders, 279 Clubhouse Road.
So after the preliminary plat was approved,
You on?
plat was approved back in 2021 for 20 multifamily buildings with 4 units apiece, and they are this would be how many buildings of the 20?
There's only 4 left.
Yeah.
So there'll be
1 to 2 left.
Didn't our original approval of the preliminary site plan also include the amenities that would be incorporated into the site?
That's
Okay,
correct.
it showed the location,
Yep.
general location of it.
correct.
Yes.
Correct.
Because there's been some
So-
conversations about when
Yes.
they will be completed.
Yeah, and
So-
the clubhouse is under construction right now, and we just have to go through the permitting on the
Yeah.
pool itself with
So-
the county and
Good.
everything.
So that's moving.
It's moving forward. Yes.
So
100%.
based on the staff review, the planning board or the proposed plan is in accordance with the provisions of the town's UDO. All necessary information has been provided to the town as a prerequisite to the planning board's approval. Staff's comments are attached.
Okay. I did not have any specific comments regarding the packet. It seemed clear to me.
I'm
Ron?
good.
Richard?
I'm getting I think we both have been getting some emails about some of the runoff issues in terms of the construction over there. I know we had a meeting a couple of months ago, and some of those were addressed. Could you give us an update on that?
Sure. We installed beyond the state stormwater permit a brand new stormwater drain at the access furthest down by the existing buildings where all the water has been coming through. After every major rain event, I've communicated with the homeowners in that area to find out if they're having flooding issues down there and check to see if there was any mud staining on the roads or curbs or anything like that. Haven't had a complaint since that drain went in, and I have not seen any staining from mud or anything of that nature in that area. Also, as the buildings are getting constructed, they're all getting tied directly into the stormwater system approved by the state, and that water goes directly into the pond. So as each building gets completed or far enough along, the roof drains and things of that nature are getting tied in. They go underground. They go directly into the stormwater pond or lake, whatever you want to refer to it, behind Eastwood townhomes. And frankly, we have one more building to connect. I believe it's building 20. That will be the last building that would have any runoff that would have been free to roll down that exit and enter Eastwood Park Road. The other two buildings that face Eastwood Park Road are kind of set off to themselves and self-contained, and then everything further up the hill doesn't really make its way around there. So
There is less water in any given storm now as the
100%.
buildings are completed and the roof area impervious that's going into
correct. The roof
gutters
area,
is-
the landscaping getting put in, all that stuff is just tremendously reducing the amount of rain.
Great. Well, thanks for sharing that
Yeah.
Thank you.
and making it part of the public
I
record.
I
Thank
just
you.
have one comment while you're standing there. Don't expect a response. You and I have talked about it before, but the Eastwood Park Road intersection, I'll call it the north end, I'm uncomfortable with the way forward. I know you're going to put a must turn right. I realize that it's a town road. I realize the obligations where they lie, but something needs to be done to address that. It's a town road, and just want to put that on the record.
Sure.
All right. Like to entertain a motion that we approve that to approve the Eastwood Bluffs final plat phase 5 that's before us.
I so move.
Second.
Any discussion?
Nope.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you, Todd.
Thank you.
Thanks, Todd.
All right, the next item under new business is the anchor sign text amendment. And Chad, can you give us some background on that, please?
Right. Just for the record, I'm going to pause for just a second. Is that I will have your final plat signed. If you want to wait on them after the meeting, I'll have them. If not, I'll leave them up front for you to pick them up at your convenience.
Okay. I'll probably, if I'm back here in time, before I go to Charlotte.
All right, they'll be up there by lunch. Okay. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, sir.
All right, moving on to anchor sign text. Chad, can you give us some background on that, please?
Absolutely. So this application includes a modification to the Town of Sunset Beach's Unified Development Ordinance regarding signs allowed and sign square footage allowances in the non-residential zoning districts. The public notice was that for this text amendment has been published through the paper. And the planning board can respectively make a motion to recommend approval or denial on this text amendment to the town council at the next available meeting. Anchor Sign Incorporated, on behalf of Dollar Tree, am I saying that right, is submitted a complete application to the Town of Sunset Beach to propose text changes to the sign regulation ordinance. This would be a modification to Article 11 sign regulations, Sections 11.9 non-residential zoning districts, and Section 11.9.2 wall signs. As the Unified Development Ordinance is currently written, signs in non-residential zoning districts are limited by type of sign and size limitations tied to square footage. Text amendment would separate non-residential entities into two different categories: non-residential structures less than 25,000 in gross floor area, and non-residential structures greater than 25,000 in gross square footage. And square footage on both of them, gross floor area. As the UDO is written, it addresses all non-residential structures under the same umbrella. In non-residential zoning districts, you can have one monument sign or freestanding, Individual establishments have allowances for one of the following signs. If you're not on a corner lot, two of the following signs, and if you're on a two on a corner lot. Let me rephrase that again. Individual establishments may have allowances for one of the following signs if you're not on a corner lot, and two of the following signs if you are on a corner lot. The signs are wall signs, blade signs, and awning signs. The applicant's submittal does not propose any changes for allowance of freestanding and monument signs. I think that's important as we move forward into looking at this. The changes proposed to the UDO involve the number of signs allowed for non-residential structures less than greater than 25,000 square feet and or corner lots or not on corner lots. For residential structures less than 25,000 square feet, individual establishments may have one of the following: wall sign, blade sign, or an awning sign. For non-residential structures less than 25,000 square feet, individual established owned corner lots may have one of the following: on each street facing the facade, a wall sign, blade sign, or awning sign. For non-residential structures greater than 25,000 feet, individual establishments may have two of the following: wall sign, blade sign, or an awning sign. And for non-residential structures greater than 25,000 square feet, individual establishments on corner lots may have one of the following: on each street facing the facade, a wall sign, blade sign, and awning sign. The applicant is also proposing changes to increasing the square footage on a sign based on structures less than or greater than 25,000 square feet. The main change comes in non-residential structures greater than 25,000 square feet. Currently, the UDO states that wall signs are limited to every 1 square footage of sign for every 2 linear foot of the building may not exceed 100 square feet, even if the building linear feet can allow and accommodate a bigger than 100 square foot sign. The change the applicant is proposing is for a non-residential structure greater than 25,000 square feet not to have any square footage restrictions on individual wall signs, except that the 2 wall signs cannot be combined to exceed 225 square feet. The proposed text is listed before you with the red line strike out. The old ordinance and the new underlined red is what they're proposing. So you have that proposal for 11.9 and 11.92. The planning board also has a consistency statement as we look at approval or recommending approval or denial to town council. So this is a citizen-initiated text amendment. So we're looking at the text as is. The applicant is here. Ultimately, we are looking to eventually make an approval or denial of the language to be considered to the council. And I'm here to answer any questions. The applicant is here, potentially make a presentation and or answer any of your questions as well.
Could we have an applicant come to the microphone to answer some questions, please? Just introduce yourself.
Hi, Valerie O'Kane. I'm with Anchor Sign and
Megan Jackson.
Closer to the mic, Megan,
and-
please.
Megan Jackson.
And you're both with Anchor Signs?
yes.
Correct. So nobody from Family Dollar Shop?
No,
or
we're
Dollar
representing them.
Okay.
Okay. And you guys seem like you put together the wording, or at least your name is on some of the information.
Yes, sir.
Quick question. What's the square footage of the Dollar, of those two stores?
26,000, right? At the store? For the combo full, yeah.
Okay, so it is over
It's just slightly
25,000
over
square feet.
25,000, yes.
Um,
It's considered a combo full, so it's
Okay.
one of the limited Dollar Tree, Family Dollar brands. It's a combo, so it'll have a Family Dollar and a Dollar Tree within. So it is more of a destination store, and it's a bigger box, so it takes bigger locations similar to Walmart.
Are they
Target.
going to be
the total
separated
floor space-
inside?
It's going to be a single. They'll have their own sections. So you have the Dollar Tree side, Family Dollar side, but a single register for both. It's 2 stores in one.
But the total floor area is
26,000. yes.
26,000.
So it operates as a single store.
Okay.
And this is on the current site of the Family Dollar store?
next to it. The
Next
old
to
food-
it.
The old food line.
It's the
Oh,
old-
so you're taking over the old Food Lion plat?
Yeah, and the Family Dollar is closing. It'll be a relo.
Just
Okay,
move it next
so
door.
that will be a different store.
And
Yes.
what was the existing square foot of that location? The old one,
Don't know
probably 10 or so,
because it's a
under 10.
it would definitely it's a small. I don't think we have that because we're more focused on the new than the
So
closing
this
of the
store,
existing.
yeah, because there's been a lot of confusion and the feedback that I'm getting in terms of, well, wait a minute, this is
There's
Dollar
already-
General,
yeah.
there's what
But
the-
instead of us just firing questions,
Yeah.
Richard,
Sorry,
you
go ahead.
go ahead and we'll let you finish,
um,
or at least come to a comma.
Okay, so now I think I understand it a little better. So this isn't about the existing signage on the existing plat. This is on the new plat. Obviously, and this is the first I've heard of, and it's been a vacant plat for a long time. And it would be a happy day if someone took it over. And so, all
Ron,
right, great.
do you have anything?
A couple of questions, I guess, is what is the linear length of this building that you're to occupy?
It's 114.11.
No,
114
that's
feet
just
and
the
11
parapet.
inches.
What's the actual building?
Yeah, the inside dimensions
The
are
firewall
further
to
than your
firewall.
114 foot that you show on your.
Yeah, your 114 foot's the parapet.
That's the least dimensions. So it must be.
No, it's because I scaled it off to what I would call the overhang or whatever, and the overhang alone is 170 feet. That covers the sidewalk. I just
Yeah.
don't know where the firewalls are between the two buildings.
The firewalls interior to that store correspond generally to the awning that was over top of the sidewalk that would be in front of the store.
Yeah, where you
not
show
the
like that
114
red and
foot.
green fascia. You got the red to the left and the green to the right.
Yes.
I just scaled that from your drawing. I came approximately 170 feet, but I don't know without looking at the building drawing what is if the building didn't have a building to the left and a building to the right. What's the building size?
Yeah, if it wasn't in a strip.
Because that is really how. Because my comment is, and you're not going to like this, is the way I view your drawings is you're showing two smaller size signs that I'm inferring on sign A and B that you think comply with the current ordinance. You're showing the Family Dollar sign being 48.85.
Is there a packet page that you're referring to,
Packet
Ron?
page 43.
Okay.
You're showing a sign A, which is the Family Dollar sign. So you're saying 30-inch Family Dollar linear, you're naming it, and that's 48.85 square feet. Sign B, the 28-inch Dollar Tree linear, 54.25 square feet. So that works out to be like 105 square feet, and just under 104 total. But my reading of the existing UDO is you only get 1 square foot per every 2 feet of linear length. So if the linear length of that building is 170 feet, you only get 85 foot now. So I don't believe even these two versions comply now before we do this text amendment. So I think we need to get a hard confirmation on what is the linear length of this building.
I agree that we need to
Because
see
we don't
what is
know,
allowed
because right now we don't know what's allowed to what we're going to.
Yes.
If the building's, I don't know if it's 180, I'm just doing it by trying to scale, take your measurements, doing a math calculation to get what,
Yeah.
by what I
So
can
it's
measure
like
with my
60.
scale. I am a mechanical engineer, but so I get 170 square foot for that overhang or awning over the walkway, but I don't know if that's where the walls are on the inside. Is that equal to the exact end of that building? Or does it go beyond? I don't know. So
It is roughly 160 feet. So it would be. And so we would have to go even smaller than the signs that are
Right.
on there.
but yeah,
Yeah.
somebody needs to get
Under
the
the
exact,
existing
under
ordinances.
exist, right. So
Under
none
our
of these
existing-
sign
Yes.
drawings comply now.
I guess it appears that they do not.
Okay.
Yeah. So it would be probably a 28-inch Family Dollar and a 24 or 26-inch Dollar Tree.
Now, let me also say don't conceptually disagree with them from wanting a larger sign than we allow. I drive past there constantly, of course, being there in a little while.
And
But the 25,000 foot break point, I don't think, I understand their need for a larger sign because of the location of this store, the size of the store. It makes sense to me.
Also, the recess from the road.
Right, this is what I'm getting to.
Yeah.
I would like, even if we keep the 25,000 square foot break, I'm not sure what, it's the magic number because this store is just above that number. I think we also have to look at distance from the facing road. Because what I don't want to see is someone along the overlay district, which these people don't know about, or other MB districts that are up against the road, say with the parking in the back, to have a 25,000 foot store and a 225 foot sign on top, and they're only the buffer plus the setback from the road, which is.
So, Mr.
So what I'm trying to say is,
you would want a minimum distance.
I would also like, in addition to the size thing, and I'm not sure this size is the magic number.
300.
But yeah, how far are you off the road?
You're over 300.
300 feet off the road, which to me, you're trying to run a business there. I understand that. With people driving by, they can see the big old sign that says Family Dollar, and as you get further away, you need more area to do that. So I conceptually agree what they're trying to do. I'm concerned that their language doesn't, it fits for what they're doing, but in other areas where we may have larger buildings or someone at this square footage up close to the road. So I'd like to have something that adds to,
So
you can get the bigger sign if you're a bigger store and you're X distance from the road.
250 feet or something.
200 feet.
Yeah.
I don't know. We'll have to kind of figure that out.
Let me insert something here, okay?
So we're adding language potentially, or asking the applicant if they would be willing to add language in there, such as non-residential structures for the greater than 25,000 square feet, adding something in there where you are X amount of feet off the property line minimum to be able for these standards to kick in. Does that make sense, Valerie and Megan?
So the existing code would remain,
Right.
with an exception for 25,000 feet and above,
Yes.
with a 200-foot setback.
Potentially.
And now, is there a way, perhaps, because now it's kind of like, okay, well, we do this setback rule for building heights based on kind of a formula. The farther back from the road, the higher percentage of the higher up you can go. Is there a way to do that elegantly with the signage so we don't get into a situation where,
Well,
I'm 199 feet away from the road?
Let's insert in order here so that we're not just throwing
Yeah.
ideas, because it's going to confuse the applicant.
Yeah.
Let the applicant digest what we've said so far. I'll add another thing for you to consider. I'm uncomfortable with 25,000 square feet being, or even a square footage being the determinator as to the size of the sign, because you can have that building could in fact have an opening or a front facade that's 100 feet, but it could bump out in the back behind the other stores because it's a strip mall,
Yeah.
and have a much larger store, but it isn't visible. It doesn't increase the frontage.
I see. Okay.
And so the 25,000 square feet to me is you could have a huge sign out there and only have a 50-foot frontage on the sidewalk because the store is in fact 25,000 square feet in its entirety behind,
Walmart style.
where there are frontage stores. So I think one of the things that we have to consider, and it really dominates our decision, is our land use plan with the town. And the fact, now the land use plan doesn't deal with dimensions. It doesn't deal with how big a sign can be, but it deals with overall concepts as to, do we really want to encourage signs or larger signs? And that's what I have a problem with here, because our land use plan is very specific about that signage is not necessarily a positive when it comes to quality, aesthetics, we can be overwhelmed with signs.
Mhm.
And that's why our ordinances limit, or at least dimensionalize, how big a sign can be. So So this is, in the way you've suggested the text amendment, I just have trouble with. I'd have to vote no on what, because of the land use plan, and it's not in conformance with that.
Yeah.
So
Can I ask a question? I always get a little nervous when a specific applicant comes and attempts to revise the UDO based on very specific and appropriate requirements for their specific bill. Is this something that could be brought up in front of the Board of Adjustment?
well, it could be. They could ask for a variance,
Yeah.
but that is a different procedure.
Yes.
And what the applicant is doing, and really for our benefit,
Mhm.
is
Yes.
allowing us to review this and see, is this something that we really want to incorporate into our UDO so that other people can, in fact, take advantage of it? And
Well,
it gives us a
I'm-
chance to do it.
I'm trying to think of where it is likely that someone's going to come here and attempt to build a 25,000 square foot plat.
There are places
There are places.
there are places in our mud district. There's places that
There's other MB1 up in the corner. That's fairly.
Yeah, I know.
That's
That's
what
the
I'm
only,
thinking.
that's the
North
only one I can
Georgetown
think
Road.
of.
There are other areas, so
I
we
mean-
have to be careful as to what we do, because Ron is right that this could.
I mean, they could build it backwards to them where the storefront is close to the sidewalk and road and the parking's in the back.
Right.
Their situation is the old-fashioned way where
Right.
the previous way of shopping malls where the parking's in the front
Right.
and the stores are way back.
Well-
So I see their
The conundrum.
I
need.
think
Yeah.
the planning board is sensitive to the fact that because you are 300 foot set back from the road, that there is a need, a desire to be able to advertise the business, and we certainly want businesses to succeed. That there is, and that's why you want to do it. So we're sensitive to that.
Yeah.
But-
And I'll be frank. I mean, I shop in that little mall section, and it's always, oh yeah, there's a Family Dollar back here. So I get why, and obviously, Family Dollar and Dollar Tree service a very important component of our community, and
Yeah. So I guess what's the procedure? I guess I think we're in agreement. We're not happy with the text as written.
No,
Yes.
and
And if
here's
you're not
something,
voting, you
here's
can't pass
something
it.
else to consider. When we talk about the 25,000 square foot, if that's what you choose to do, and I can see some advantages and disadvantages of that, we have to be very clear in the text that we're talking about a single individual store and not the entire strip mall that's there.
Okay.
Because that obviously then every little business there could say, I want a 225 foot sign because I'm part of a over 25,000
Yeah.
square foot. So we have to be sensitive as to what people could read into that
Yeah.
ordinance for their
Structure
vested
is
rights.
What, yeah, we can reword that as well, and we can incorporate also the setback requirements, which would alleviate some of the newer buildings, like you said, that are going to be butted up against the road from having such a large sign. Another important thing to note, though, is the previous ordinance did limit to one wall sign, and with over 25,000 square foot, we are proposing to have two. And the reason for that, Target always they have CVS now, and they also have Starbucks, and there's a lot of larger stores that are now incorporating multiple. And
So my feeling on that, we would regulate the total area signage and allow you to break it up into two signs.
yes, and that's the
Now,
way that
whether
we
the
worded
number
it.
I'm happy with is 225, and we're not there yet.
Yeah.
But my thought would be based on the size of the store, the setback, here's your maximum wall signage area, and maybe we can say you can have up to.
And you've done that. You're
Break
only
that up.
That's what
asking
we
for the two
incorporated.
signs to equal 200 square feet.
225.
They've
Well,
asked for
but
225.
it's not what they.
That's
one is-
not. I know, but they've asked for in the text 225.
Right, but what you're asking for in the samples of the signs you're
It's
showing
just,
us.
it's just over 200. That's
Yeah.
why we
Right.
were like, let's give people a little bit of, so it's
Okay.
not just because 100 square feet.
But you get under.
Is-
You could get under 200 because you can move the gap
could.
between the R and the T.
We're
You got a big
and
gap
we're
between the R and
very
the T right
close.
now, right?
We should shift down an inch on the signs. But we wanted to at least give it. We weren't thinking about only our client
Yeah.
when we were trying to word this, and the setback is an important note that we
so
can incorporate for sure.
Chad, the way I hear it, we're not going to
So here's
Do we have to
The
say
applicant
no
to
technically
review
to
their
this?
proposal.
So here's
What's the proper
here's
procedure?
Yeah, here's the proper procedure. One, you could make a recommendation of approval to the town council. B, you can make it. You can based off of the text, you can make a recommendation for denial to the town council. Plan C, you can be specific to the applicant if the applicant is willing to come back with additional text to satisfy your comments, and we can table this to the next meeting and review it.
I think we're at C, right?
I think we're
So
at C.
As long as they're at C,
yeah,
I guess
and
they
the-
may not
and the
be at
meeting
C.
would be
The setback would be what the determining factor is, and our building does
Yeah.
fall within that. Then I don't see a reason why we wouldn't.
So, and the meeting would be March or May the 4th would be the meeting that this would come back to.
So the things we want addressed is in addition to store area or not, is distance from the setback from the front facing road, and
Yeah, it sounds like you need.
maybe
I-
reconsidering on the 225.
Let me
to
see if
a
I
different number.
from my understanding, and I'm probably going to set up some kind of conference call with them in the next week or so to help clarify some things and go over the submittal stuff and what like that. So it sounds like to me you're asking for a few things. You're looking for, one, what is the linear foot of the building?
I think we need to nail that
Frontage.
down.
Yeah, the frontage.
What's the real frontage
Yep.
of this store property?
So the other thing is that what is your thinking about y'all, the applicant, and potentially other applicants? What is the maximum square footage signs that you're seeking and what y'all would be comfortable for? And off of how much distance from, I want to make sure we're saying this right, not the road, not the right of way, but from the front property line, there would be a minimum setback.
Yeah.
Okay, so
We
it
could
is
do
the
it from the
front
property line.
line.
I guess my sort of thinking on the sign area, we're currently 1 square foot per every 2 linear. I'd be willing to go twice that, go 1 square foot for every 1 foot linear, which would put this around 180 square feet or so. But without knowing the actual footage, I can't.
Right.
I'm a little uncomfortable at 225.
Right. And
But-
I mean, and you, if they're willing to budge on the 225, allow them to propose something that meets their demands, but also is smaller than that to see if you're comfortable with that, or propose multiple options to that. It's their text amendment, and town council will get the final say in this as well. So those are your 3 options. If the applicant is willing to, open to that, staff will work with them to help facilitate this back through.
Yeah, and I guess to my concern again is when this is done for a single applicant, that we make sure that, because they're going to get their sign and move on and do what they do, and we're going to be stuck with this revised text amendment for anybody new that's come along. And I want to make sure that we've looked at every potential outcome of that revised text amendment with the idea that we don't open it, as I hear all the time, open a Pandora's box to
Well,
Which is
and
what
what-
other
trying to do.
signage that may not fit the land use plan.
to insert, what Ron had just said, and I don't want to make it seem like I'm in favor of that, because I need to think about that, where you were talking about increasing it to 1-to-1. Let's say if it's a 150 foot long, that they could put a 150 square foot sign. I just need to think about that. I think there can be extenuating circumstances where all of a sudden we have, right now we're dealing with 225 square feet as the applicant has proposed. If that building is 170
Yeah, but we-
square foot,
but we can
it
likewise
would allow
put
a 300 square
Right, but we
foot
can
sign.
likewise, we do put an upper limit now no matter what, so we could do the
Sure.
same thing. We could
We'd
say
have to do
you
that.
get 1-to-1, but never to exceed 200.
Yes, okay.
Right
that
now,
has
we
to
got
be
a 1-to-2
caveat.
to never exceed 100. So we
would
could
have to be a
double that.
caveat.
We could double our existing allowance now.
Mhm.
Right now, we're 1-to-2 with a maximum of 100, correct?
Mhm.
We could go to 1-to-1 with a maximum of 200. So if someone had a 200-foot building, they could do a 200 square foot
Max.
signage divided by, if they want 2 sides. In this case, if this happens to be an under 180 foot long building, they could only do 180 square feet.
And we need to be clear that it's each individual business,
The
not,
lease frontage.
not the whole strip
yes.
mall,
Right.
because other people would then try to take advantage of the entire, like the
So
strip mall.
again, what's
Now,
That's
the
a really
applicant
good
has to
point,
agree
'cause
to
I
this,
can
though,
tell that.
coming back to us with a, with
Yeah. So
rewording.
are y'all comfortable doing that?
If our options are either denial or return with an amendment with another one, then I would definitely say that yes.
Okay.
And everything that's proposing with us rewording this to not just be a structure and specifically calling out a single lease frontage, single tenant space, and also adding the setback, that is all things that I think would help you going forward and also wouldn't deter us from getting our client the signs that they.
What I struggle with a little bit is these were your words, I believe. You said it's really two stores. Well, that kind of gives us some angst. It's really one store.
Yes, it's a single store.
Two
There's
brands, one store.
It's
Right.
operating under Family Dollar, so it's a Family Dollar combo is really what it's called.
Okay.
It's a Family Dollar with a section that's designated.
Yeah, but store within a store, you better get used to.
But that's yes, of
Sure.
course you have it. And that they are truly they're the special kind of stores, and they're with Dollar Tree and Family Dollar, just typically they're last minute decisions, as you guys I'm sure all know, where you just said when you're shopping in the shopping center, you say, hey, there's a Family Dollar here. It's not necessarily a destination.
Right.
These combo fulls kind of are in the middle where they're
Yeah,
going to
and-
draw more attention
and-
because they're a specialty store, but also they're going to be the last minute decision store too.
Yeah, and drawing on my background from my time, I'm very familiar with the Family Dollar, Dollar Tree split. And historically, Dollar Tree's had a stronger brand. So I'm sure that's one of the reasons why they want to
So
increase the signage and to include Dollar Tree as part of the brand attraction of that particular plat.
on the path we're on, that should not affect any other tenants in this mall or
That's correct.
our friends across the road.
That's correct.
Now, do they
Would-
have a
would-
monument sign?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
Well, they've got a
The
main
only
billboard out front.
Right,
Food,
okay.
Food Line might be able to benefit from this. But
How far are they back from the road?
I don't know.
We could
We'll
probably
just
look
have
at
to
that
Yeah.
and exchange that information.
So I have
but-
I have a question for the clerk as we look to move forward with this. I will be on vacation May the 4th, which is our first meeting in May. If we table this to the first available meeting in May and not to May the 4th, are we still good there? I will be on vacation May the 4th. That was our first planning board meeting in May. If we table this specifically to the first meeting we hold in May, so if we bump this up to May the 3rd or bump it back, so after I get back from vacation, will that still work? Okay. So what I would do is based off of the comments you provided back to the applicant, Mr. Larkin, if it's okay with the applicant and the board, table it to the
First meeting
meeting in
in May.
May. Yep,
First regular meeting in May.
that's correct.
Which would be May.
Well, it's May 4th, but you just hear him. He's not here on that day.
Yeah.
That
So-
meeting's probably going to be relocated.
So what I'm probably going to do, have the COG circle this date as a pencil in. They could present it for me.
I'm on vacation.
So we'll just have to see what that looks
You're
like
here.
moving forward. But I would
I'm on
rather.
vacation May 7th on.
So yeah.
So
I'm
when
not
would we
looking-
move?
I will work on the date later. Just table it
He
till
just
the
wants
first
the wording as the tabling.
Yes.
It'd be the
Yes.
first
The first
meeting in
available
May.
meeting in May.
Is the applicant satisfied with that, with us tabling it? Because you could say you want a decision. So,
Well, I can determine what the decision would be. Should I say that? So I'm going to say yes. I am
Okay.
okay with tabling it to the next one, so we can work on this amendment to make it more satisfactory for you.
That'd be great.
Perfect.
thank you.
Thank
Thank
you.
you so much.
You'll
All
need
right.
a motion and a second and
I'd like
carry.
to make a motion that we table the anchor sign text amendment application until the first meeting of the planning board in the month of May.
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Valerie.
Thank you.
Valerie, can I get you to just step back up here real quick? I just want to make some clarification to help our clerk. Can you spell your first name for me
Yes, it's VALERIE.
and your last name?
O'*Kane.
And then Megan, yours is MEGAN, and her last name is Jackson. And to both of you, I will work on scheduling a teleconference call with both of you next week. We can go over this and when I'll need the submittal back in to start my staff report for the meeting in May.
Okay.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, moving on to our next item for code enforcement text amendment.
Yes.
Chad, if you could give us some background on that, please.
Yes. So as our UDO states right now in Article 1, it references 14.4, and you have that general statute. So it references general statute, North Carolina General Statute 14-4, which is the last page you received in your packet. Except for, and I'm going to read part of that. Except as provided in the subsection B or C of this section, any person shall violate an ordinance of a county, city, or town or metropolitan sewage district created under Article 5 of this chapter shall be guilty of a Class 3 misdemeanor and shall be fined not more than $500. No fine shall exceed $50 unless ordinance expressly states that the maximum fine is greater than $50. So, as our UDO is referenced and it is currently written now, you can't exceed that. So we have some properties around town that our contracted InFocus code enforcement guy is working on, and it's gotten to the point where we are not getting any response back from people. We are at the fine level. And when you get into code enforcement, you don't get in it to make money. If your solely obligation or objective in code enforcement is to make money and fund your budget, that's never going to happen, period. Your job is to solely try to remedy and fix the issue and not fine. We do have a few that are getting to the point where we've got no communication back and where the remedy needs to be fixed. So, InFocus on their behalf, because they're on vacation, is asking me to submit a text amendment. This is their language.
InFocus, for clarification.
InFocus is the group that we have contracted out to
manages
the code enforcement side of this. It helps out Officer Hall with the code enforcement on the police side, and helps enforce some code enforcement issues under the UDO umbrella. So he has asked me to submit a text amendment in Article 1 to allow for a $100 fine, and the language that in such case a general court of justice shall have the jurisdiction to issue such orders that may be appropriate and shall not be a defense to the application of the towns of etiquette relief. And so he's asking for two things: the fine be set at 100 instead of 50. And that adding language in there where if we get to the point where the court judge could rectify an injunction, it could be carried out, because that's not in our ordinance either. Now, the general statute 14-4 specifically states that the minimum shall be 50, and unless otherwise noted, it can be set anywhere between 100 or 50 and 500, or any denomination in between. If you're uncomfortable with the 100 and would like to increase it, you are more comfortable if you are inclined to do that, if you shall please, or you can leave it at 100. We are really just cleaning up this ordinance to allow our contractor services and staff to carry out a fine situation where we can apply a lien on a property. Now, the other thing is that we have in the UDO rewrite, we have combed through Article 1 already. This approval, as we get to it, will be encompassed with our contractor, the Cape Fear Council of Governments, to include this language as we work through that process, so it won't be undone. I've already clarified with that. Wes has asked for the language that we propose when we get to the end of this over the next couple months, so he can encompass this with the new language.
Just for the rest of the planning board, we've already reviewed in our new Article 2.24D, we've reviewed this language and changed it. What Chad is now saying is that he is going to make sure that the Council of Governments sees this new wording
Yes.
that we're discussing here right now,
Yes.
and make sure that this gets, in fact,
Yes.
incorporated word for word
Yes.
into our new UDO wording, because it'll be different than what we just discussed
Now,
a couple months ago.
the thing I want to reiterate is, and even down talking with some staff this morning, if you wish the $100 to be increased, it's up to you.
What does staff think?
Infocus has set it at 100. I mean, you're looking at something that could be increased to 2 or anywhere between 50 and 500. It's really how this looks at is if you have a violation, it gets to that point. You look at 100 or 50 or whatever dollar amount of fine per day until the situation is levied.
I
Now,
guess that was my main question coming up here.
Yep.
Is this a fine per occurrence?
it's a
And
fine
you're saying fine per day of violation. Where does
Yes.
it say that?
in the general statute.
It's in this 14.4?
Yes, sir.
But it's not in the amended UDO.
No, but the amended UDO and the even as it's written now references General Statute 14.4.
Yeah,
Okay.
But I guess I don't see where it's per day,
I don't see that either.
unless I don't know how to read this. It just seems to always spell out a number, not a number per time period of violation.
It's just a flat fee, flat number.
Yeah,
And that's in 14.4?
yeah. Well, unless we don't have the whole thing here. Is there more than this A, B, C? I
Hold
didn't
on.
look. I didn't pull it to see if there's other pages.
Well, it does say in the new, in the
Well-
existing language on number 4, H4, it talks about
Where are we
each
at?
day.
Okay, so under the language in the UDO, 1.112.4 creates the fine as a per day.
That's correct.
Okay, because it says the fine. So each day is a new violation.
That's
But
correct.
14.4, I don't see. Are we still got a conflict?
No. No. So 4 would come into play.
I mean,
which,
because $100 a day seems satisfactory to me. Because
so here's the other thing.
so I mean, if you're in violation for 30 days,
Yes,
that's
$3,000.
$3,000.
right. So that seems.
If you're in, think
If
about
it's just per occurrence, you say you got a broken window and you got to fix it. It's $100, and you wait 90 days and it's still $100. That doesn't seem right.
so it's $100
so as long
a
as
day. Yep.
It's per day. I'm okay with.
Yep.
100,
So it's
I guess.
$100 a day or whatever that fee would be amount a day. Now, here's the other thing. If it gets to the point where we get in a court situation to collect the fine has to match the crime type thing. And that is going over in zoning review classes and conferences. So if you have a junk vehicle sitting on the property that refuses to be removed and you have a $500,000 fine, you're not going to collect $500,000 on one junk vehicle, and that's up for a court to decide. But ultimately, it's the town's job to carry out levying a fine per day if it gets to that point.
I think $100 is probably
Yeah, I think that's
adequate,
fine.
unless you have a burning, you
Yeah, because-
brought it up.
Because after
So-
90
I do
after
not.
90 days,
I was
you're-
asked to brought it up by additional staff if $100 would be comfortable with you, or increasing it to potentially 2. But if $100 is fine,
because after 100 days, you're at 10 grand. And I believe people who didn't do it when they got the first letter and are not doing it because they're just not going to do it, or they're just not even looking at the stuff, they'll be at 10 grand before you know it. And, right? I'm sure the people you're looking at now are probably at 90 days already
yeah. But we can't start the fine process
until you levy the
Until
fine.
until we get this language.
But if you
Yeah.
had it, you would be there probably.
Oh yeah, easily.
So
But
I'm
that clock doesn't start ticking until
you
this
find
is
them.
approved.
That's correct. Yeah, we're ready to start the clock now.
I'd like to entertain a motion that we accept the Code Enforcement Text Amendment, ZTA 2023-2, as submitted by town staff.
I so move.
I second.
All in favor?
Aye.
All right, now I have to read a
Consistency statement.
consensus statement.
That's correct.
I'm going to read the affirmative. The planning board hereby recommends approval of the proposed amendment to the Unified Development Ordinance and finds that it is It is neither consistent nor inconsistent with the town's comprehensive plan, 2017 Town of Sunset Beach Land Use Plan, and recommend approval. We need a motion for
Yeah,
that?
you need a motion
Okay,
for that.
can I have a motion for
So
that?
moved.
Second?
All in favor?
Aye.
So we've checked off the box A
Okay.
for recommended approval for, and there is no commentary. All right. We have finished with new business. Do we have any public comments on 3 minutes limit? And seeing nobody jumping up to the podium, I would like to entertain a motion for adjournment.
I so move.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Meeting so adjourned.
Hmm.